Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about nostalgic foods. Join us as we discuss all the ways we've changed around food over the years. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're talking about nostalgic foods. On our recent Life Update episode, we mentioned that the things we eat have changed over time. And that got us thinking about what did we used to eat and serve to others? And what do we do now? So the idea for nostalgic foods was born. And Julie and Mindy, I'm looking forward to talking about this with you because once you really start thinking about the things you eat, you might even be a little embarrassed to admit to it.
Okay, thank you for saying that right off the bat, because my list, I was like, oh my gosh.
Julie, you're not embarrassed?
No, I don't know. I talked to my kids a lot about this. This was a really fun thing to delve into, and it made me kind of question why I make the decisions I make, that maybe I've been influenced.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we have different categories, and they're not in any particular order. But speaking of kids, because I did ask my kids too, and I'm sure you probably did, Mindy, one of the categories was things I used to make that my kids will not eat anymore. So, Julie, when you talk to your kids, is there anything that you used to make that they say, no, Mom, never make that again?
While my kids maybe don't cook like I do, they still will eat a lot of the things that I cooked when they were growing up. And I had this talk with my daughter this week, and it was really fun to kind of reminisce. And I was very surprised, actually, that she had a lot she liked from my repertoire.
Oh, good.
And still likes. And it's funny because she kind of went through a phase where she was vegetarian and, ate a lot of stuff that I had never put on the table. And now that she has kids, it's kind of coming around to convenience and ease and time all go into that. Like the things you don't really have to consider when you're single or you don't have kids.
Sure.
True.
Yeah.
True.
So I'll talk more about that later, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that really does make sense. Okay, well, I had a long list of things. Apparently, there are a lot of things that I used to make that my kids are like, no. So one of my most famous dishes, and it was based on my mother's, and I assume maybe someone made it for her. We called it tuna noodle. And basically, it was egg noodles, cream of mushroom soup, and 1 or 2 cans of tuna fish. I would still eat this today because I grew up eating it, and it was the easiest meal. And you guys, my kids associate this with Awana nights, Wednesday night church growing up. I used to make tuna noodle because it was quick, easy. You had to be at a church by like 5:45. What are you going to serve that's quick, easy, get out the door? And I used to always serve it with peas. So tuna noodle, I don't make it anymore. And my kids definitely do not make it. But we never really complained about having it at the time. We talked about all the creamed soups that we used to eat, and this was a classic creamed soup recipe. Another one I used to make was, my mother used to make these. This was before people knew really what Mexican food tasted like. I like the old El Paso burrito beans, refried beans. And then if we were feeling rich that week, she might mix in a pound of ground beef. But if we weren't feeling rich, we would just have the refried beans in tortillas with cheese.
Are you serious?
And we loved it. And I used to make that for my kids too. And now they really laugh because Mexican food is so plentiful. My son loves to cook, and he makes fun of the Mexican food in quotes that I used to serve. But anyways, all but one son did say that he would still eat that, but everyone else said no. And when I also think about like the protein levels that everyone demands nowadays, I used to put 1 pound of ground beef in there for 7 people. So
No.
I don't know. They would not stand for that at this point. Like
Right.
at this point, you would have to have like 4 or 5 pounds of ground beef in there.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah. And then I won't go into so much detail on the other ones, how they were actually made, but I used to make pot roast a lot. None of my kids want me to make pot roast anymore. They really don't want me to make any crock pot meals in general, except chili.
Okay. Right.
Chicken and rice. I actually thought my daughter liked this. I wrote out the recipe on a little recipe card and gave it to her when she got married, along with some other recipes. I'm not sure why I thought she liked it. She says she hates it. Again, it was a cream of chicken soup base recipe. Easy.
There you go.
Very easy. My kids all said that casseroles are adult baby food. So they do not want to have them. My one daughter said there was not a seasoning in sight for my whole childhood, not even salt on the table. And that's true. I don't even put salt on the table because I don't like added salt. So it never even occurs to me. Sometimes we have company and they'll say, do you have any salt? And I have to like search my cupboards for something that would be appropriate to put it in. Like I don't have salt shakers.
And that's like the most important seasoning on food.
I don't eat it.
Oh my goodness.
And then my daughter said that, okay, if you ever read some parenting books as your kids were growing older, you know, back talking is always one of the themes. I always wanted to eliminate back talking. And one of these suggested things was hot sauce. Instead of washing your kid's mouth out with soap, like what we would have gotten when we were younger, put a dab of hot sauce on their tongue. I thought, well, this is genius. And then when my daughter got married, her husband got out hot sauce as a condiment, which we never had, as an actual food. It was just a punishment. And he was going to put it on the eggs. And she's like, you can't do that. That's my punishment. So she won't eat hot sauce because it was associated with punishment growing up and she hates it.
Oh my goodness. How sassy was she? I'm wondering.
Anyways, those were some of the ones that immediately came to their mind.
It's funny about the hot sauce because I used it as a punishment too. And I remember it was some kind of special. I don't know what it was. It wasn't really something we put on our food, but I remember it kind of ran down the bottle and it took the finish off my table. And I still have the little, it's like it was a square bottle. So it left a little square mark on that table.
Well, did it eliminate the back talk, Julie?
And I always thought, maybe this isn't such a good idea if it damages furniture. But
right.
It's funny because my kids put hot sauce on everything. Everything gets hot sauce. And we never had that growing up. Like I didn't put hot sauce on anything, but they all do.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the first things on my list, and it's funny because when I asked even the kids, Kraft mac and cheese, which is one of those love-hate things. They definitely, their favorite meal, like when they were kids, if I found the Dino chicken nuggets and made Kraft mac and cheese, like that was a fun night for them. You know, I can't get away with it anymore. Nobody wants Dino chicken nuggets.
I wish they did. It'd be so easy.
I know. And every once in a while when they're feeling nostalgic, they'll be like, hey, like, yeah, let's get some Kraft mac and cheese, but it's not something that they want to eat. And so, yes, casseroles was on my list. There was this broccoli and cheese casserole, and it had a whole loaf of Velveeta cheese. That sucker was packed full. Like you were not gonna go hungry.
That's the thing. Like, no wonder our kids could sleep 12 hours. They were loading up at dinner.
And I felt so good about it because it had broccoli in it. But it was kind of a high maintenance casserole. Like it was heavy too. Like it's going to fill you up. Hot dogs, corn dogs of any variety. Like that's just a no-go. So, I remember buying the microwavable corn dogs, like the mini corn dogs and cutting them up. And, man, I was embarrassed by my list. I'm like, okay, how many things could I microwave? I mean, how many time-saving, mystery meat items could I give my kids? And I'm like, how in the world are they all somewhat healthy at this point?
I know.
Like I think back and I'll tell myself, but there was one time I realized we had a lack of fresh fruit in our house. And I remember going through a stage of thinking, gosh, it just goes so fast. Like it's so expensive, and we have so many kids, and fresh fruit was kind of a luxury, or maybe I just wasn't prioritizing it. I don't know. But I watched Grant wolf down some blueberries at a party one time and heard him tell someone like he loved them and mom never bought them. And I was like, oh, maybe I should buy some more fruit for my kids.
The thing is you can't buy berries for a big family, Mindy. Berries, I always tell my kids, berries are a condiment. They are not the main side dish. Like, I'll buy berries if you're going to mix them with some cheaper fruit. But no, I can't buy this little thing of blackberries and then in 2 people, it's gone.
Right. I know, like a whole little thing of blueberries is what, $5 or $6, and they could eat them in one sitting. Yeah,
right.
Whereas I can make them last.
Yes,
exactly. Yeah. So fresh fruit was something that apparently was lacking. My kids got tired of pizza on Friday night. We've all talked about having like a pizza night. Sorry, like it's going to come back around, but literally nobody chooses pizza on a Friday night.
Either. No.
And they rarely will eat pizza. Like it's almost like we did pizza out. Like we did it so much. And even like we would change where we would buy it from every once in a while. We think we want some, we'll get some. And they're like, yeah, we can go a long time again.
Yeah.
So we kind of outdid the pizza. Another thing that I got from my mom that I just recently had again because I was feeling nostalgic. We were talking about this and I was like, I really want to make some corned beef hash and eggs. So it's the can of corned beef. You skillet, you heat it up, and then you put eggs on top, and then you let the eggs kind of get solid, and then you eat that.
Okay.
Okay, that was one of my favorite things. It's not as good anymore as what I thought it was. And I cannot make that for a meal. So literally I had to make that for myself. Of course, we have one kid left in the house, but Bryce doesn't like it. So like if Bryce doesn't like it, I'm like, okay, this is definitely a Mindy for lunch item that I can get away with.
Yeah.
So the last thing on my list, it includes hot dogs again, but it was chili cheese dogs.
Okay.
That was kind of a fun night. If I did the chili and we had, the hot dogs and the cheese, and that just doesn't fly. We can't do that. So I thought, again, this is another food I pulled out for myself the other day. And like once a year, I'll have a chili cheese dog. And I told Bryce, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done for a couple of years this time. It just it doesn't hit the same.
When you say chili cheese dog, is it like a hot dog with chili on top, or what is it?
Yeah.
Because I thought that's like a classic combination that people like.
I mean, it is. It's just, I think that, it falls into this category for me of something that we would make, like when the kids were small, because then they could just have the hot dog and cut it up with ketchup, or they could have just a plain hot dog in a bun. They could fix the hot dog, or they could put chili on it. Like,
I feel like I might like it in the fall. I could associate it with like a fall event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I talked with my daughter about. I was asking her, like, what are you feeding your kids? And she said, Mom, hot dogs is on the rotation. And I just couldn't believe it, because like here was this vegetarian, kids were eating avocado toast when they were babies. I thought that they had just moved away. And she said, sometimes it's just what I do. And she said they absolutely love them. And I still cook hot dogs here. Like my mom likes them, David likes them, because I grill them in the iron skillet. Put a little butter on the bun, and then you can serve it with sauerkraut or onions or peppers, or like, so when I'm going to visit next week, I said, can we have chili dogs? Because she loves chili. And so I was glad that she was like kind of taking back some of these things. Yeah. I mean, you can buy all beef, you can buy nitrate free.
That's right.
Like how's it any different if you're,
it's true.
If you're maybe buying the best ones. So I don't know.
You're right. There's a lot of variety in there. And we have moved to like the chicken apple sausage brat.
Oh,
instead. So like there's even variety there that you can do. But yeah, the classic chili cheese dog, we had to have a break in the Stillman household.
Right.
Well, and something you said, Maria, I think is funny is like one thing I notice a big difference between maybe how I grew up and how people cook today is you just weren't exposed to international foods like we are now, like this global palate, this global plate. Like Italian was Chef Boyardee.
Mhm.
Mexican, like I cooked this dish that Molly admitted that she loved, and that even when she was single, she would make once a week. And it was called enchiladas. And she goes, Mom, there was not one truly Mexican ingredient in that dish. Like it was tortillas, but it was ground beef. And I remember the cheese was cottage cheese.
Ew.
And she goes, that sounds so gross.
It does sound gross.
But it melts and it's creamy. And then you made your own sauce. It was a Southern Living recipe. You made your own sauce with tomato sauce and cheese, and that was it. And it was so good. But it's Mexican. But I mean, there's really nothing very Mexican in that except the tortillas. Right. But she goes, I loved it.
I could categorize my whole list of things I made for the kids by saying all the things I made. Like I used the microwave a lot. And now I don't use the microwave a lot. Now I'm using the oven, the stove, my air fryer, my air roaster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a major difference on how I used to cook versus now is their meals aren't coming from a microwave as much as they used to.
Yeah. And I would just say too, like when I got married, I was given a Betty Crocker cookbook. If I wanted to make something, I had to look in there and find a recipe, whether it was for everyday food or for company, or I had to get a recipe from my mom or my grandmother. There was no internet to look up 5 ingredients. What could I make with this? Or, you might get a recipe out of a magazine, but I rarely did that because they had like 25 ingredients and I don't like that many.
So complicated.
Or if you went to someone's house and it was a good meal, like I still have some recipes in my cookbook handwritten that I ate at other people's houses. So, you didn't have access to the amount of recipes and even like know what all these ingredients were and have all these choices. Like everyone pretty much made the same things in one form or fashion. Different regions of the country might include something different or do it a little different, but they were all kind of working from the same ingredient pool.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that is a huge difference is like cooking technology has increased. Like it's more sophisticated. The techniques you use, the ingredients, some of the ingredients I use now, my mom probably never heard of when I was little. And I rarely cook. I mean, I have a cookbook collection. I always buy cookbooks when I travel and I love to read them and I love to cook from them. And I loved Southern Living recipes. That's pretty much all I cook from. And now I just get all my recipes online. But it does kind of make you think, this is the way everyone eats. When you see recipes just pouring into your feed,
right?
It's like, well, it's made me kind of think, I kind of miss the old poppy seed chicken. Maybe I need to go back to that. Like when I was thinking about all these recipes that I don't cook anymore, I was like, what's wrong with that? It made me want to go back to some of those comfort foods.
Julie, I ended up with a list, kind of the same thing, that there are things I used to make that the kids wish I would still make, and so there are things that, looking back, maybe I'm lazier now, or I just was, I was using cookbooks a lot more. And ironically, the only time I pull out a cookbook now is at Thanksgiving. It's to make those one time a year pieces, but otherwise everything's online. And then you mentioned, the areas of wherever you grew up or the places you lived, those places influenced you, your sphere. Because my mom was recently at my house and she was saying that when they were stationed in Japan with the military, she said after that, everything we ate had to have rice in it. And so because they lived in Japan and because they were around that, like that just became part of their everyday meals.
So many recipes from friends, like you said, like especially in the South, I don't know, like going to a baby shower or a party, like party foods were really popular, like, dips and stuff like that. And all those recipes just went around, and you passed them around. And I had this blank recipe book that John gave me, it was like where you could handwrite in your recipes, and I still have it and use it. And at the top of each recipe, I'll write, like this came from so-and-so. And so many of them were like meals that someone brought me when I had a baby.
Oh,
and it was a neighbor that I don't even, never kept in contact with, but I still have their name at the recipe, at the top of the recipe. So I kind of miss that,
Right.
like a recipe was associated with a person, and that's not so much true anymore when it comes off the internet,
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about things that we used to make that we wish we still could make because it made life a lot easier. Julie, you said once that there's a really good, easy meal for a big crowd is like those frozen meatballs with sauce in a crock pot and you make some spaghetti. I wish I could make that. That would make life so easy. And I did used to make that growing up, but my kids won't eat frozen meatballs anymore.
I made that Monday night.
Oh, did you? Did people eat it?
Well, yeah, pasta Monday. I mean, I got meatballs from Trader Joe's that were delicious.
Well, were they fresh or frozen?
No, they were frozen. And I got bolognese sauce and I had spaghetti. I didn't do it in a crock pot, but I mean,
okay.
You know, it was delicious. We ate it the next night for leftovers.
Okay.
So. Oh my goodness.
Well, maybe if I got the Trader Joe's meatballs, but those like, I used to buy like the big package from Costco. Like that was a staple. You bought a big package of the frozen meatballs. And then if you needed a quick and easy meal, you put them in a saucepan with sauce and you made the spaghetti and your family was fed in 30 minutes. And no one will eat those meatballs anymore.
Oh, man.
I wish I could make casseroles. Is there no place for casseroles anymore? But honestly, I don't even really want to eat them. But I want the ease. I want the ease of a casserole.
Yes. I think breakfast casseroles.
Well, there is still a place for breakfast casseroles.
Yes.
There definitely is. All right. What do you wish that you could still make that nobody will eat?
Well, this was a hard question for me because I thought there's really nothing I wish I could make because if I wished I could make it, I would just make it. But there are some things that I used to make that I find myself not making anymore, but maybe I will. Like I always had a chicken asparagus casserole, but you know, all this stuff had so many soups and so many Ritz crackers.
Oh, yeah.
that was
with
the
butter
common
drizzled?
theme. Yes, with the butter drizzle.
Yeah.
Like so I did chicken asparagus casserole. I did poppy seed chicken. I actually saw that in a Southern Living article recently about what to bring somebody that's just had a baby and how like young people wouldn't know what to do with that anymore. You know, like it's chicken and cream, so a couple of cream soups and some cheese and topped with Ritz crackers. You know, it's so comforting and good, but a lot of people just don't eat that way anymore. One of John's very favorite meals was Rotel chicken spaghetti. You know, it's spaghetti with chicken and probably a block of Velveeta and a can of Rotel tomatoes. And then another big one. Now, this is something my kids would not eat is any kind of congealed Jell-O salad. And my grandmother had the best pear salad that she made every Thanksgiving. You know, it was in a little mold. And I used to make an orange one that had orange Jell-O and it had sherbet and Cool Whip.
Yes.
And I got that from a friend. Like I went to her house for dinner and I said, I must have this recipe. I made it for years. My kids will not eat Jell-O. They think that's just so gross. The baked pineapple casserole, another one with Ritz crackers on top. Do you guys remember they called it the 24-hour layered salad? You know, it was like iceberg lettuce and onions and peas. And then it was a topping of mayonnaise and sugar and Parmesan with some bacon
I don't
bits.
remember that.
Oh, that was everybody made that. That was a Southern Living kind of thing. And then that strawberry pretzel salad with the strawberry crust.
I still love that though. My mother-in-law makes that for family gatherings because that is one form of Jell-O that my kids will eat.
Well, I think Molly would probably still like that too because she just has. But again, I think it's almost more about the memories associated than the taste.
Right.
Like some things just bring you back to your grandmother's kitchen or your mom's kitchen, and
right.
I don't know. So I actually, I might bring one of these into the rotation.
Well, I would be curious if you served your chicken and asparagus casserole. Okay, so we were fine eating asparagus that way because we never had it prepared the real way. But now people know what asparagus is supposed to taste like. So I don't know if they would still eat chicken and asparagus casserole.
I know because my family, that's the one vegetable everybody loves, and we just roast it with salt and pepper and olive oil. Even my picky boys, that's what they love, asparagus. So yeah, you're right. It would probably totally ruin it to drown it in soup and cheese and.
Oh man. Okay. Well, Julie, I have to say, if you lived where I lived, you would have access to all those things around my town right now. And
still.
It's very Southern style. And so my family's had a hard time adjusting to living in this area because we have this fabulous Italian restaurant downtown, and we all joke they have 3 menus because it's a local small business, and they have the best Italian, and they have like really good seafood and stuff on their dinner menu. Their lunch menu is different, and it's really good. And on Sundays we went expecting that, and it's Southern style. So and like the thing around here is I had never had the lemon poppy seed chicken until I moved to LaGrange.
Really?
Just 3.5 years ago. And that's something that's served a lot. Like it's kind of like a local delicacy. And the strawberry pretzel thing,
Really?
I just had that the other night at our Sunday school get together. Like it's very Southern.
That warms my heart.
We're learning, like our family's learning, because we were not, raised around this. And I wasn't raised around this. My Mima and all that had it, but being military, like I didn't have all that. So it's very interesting, like parts of the country and things like that are just different.
Yeah. I know there are a few diners around that still offer the poppy seed chicken, or like you can go and get it prepared, like to take out and bake at home. And I have a good friend. She, her daughter still lives with her, and she does all the cooking, and she makes chicken poppy seed casserole once a week.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. We have this local company, business called Supper at Home, y'all. That's the name. Supper at Home, y'all. And it's prepared casseroles and dishes, and they have like the best quiche. But yeah, you go pick it up. They always have lemon poppy seed chicken.
Nice.
Well, and it still is a processed food if you're eating soups, but you can buy low sodium, low fat, fat sour cream. Like you can cut down on the fat and the salt if you want to.
Definitely.
All right, Mindy, what do you wish you could make that made life easier, but you can't make it anymore?
Well, my conscience will not allow me to use the microwave as much as I used to.
Okay.
So any of those wonderful microwaved foods that I used to kind of skate by with,
Yeah.
That's no more. The canned green beans. I happen to like when my mom and dad are here, I can serve them.
I do like canned green beans.
I'm fine with it. And so, but like when the kids are home, we get the fresh green beans and we air fry them.
I just did that the other night. That was really, they all ate them, and they said they wouldn't eat green beans, but they ate those.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, they're really good, but slowly but surely, like these things that I used to get from a can, like you guys have mentioned, or anything that I microwaved, everything is more fresh. I have to shop kind of every couple days. Like I can't just do one shop, put everything in the pantry and the freezer like I used to. No, everything is like fresh and, could go bad. So, that kind of encompasses a lot of things.
Right.
But also, I mean, we're healthy-ish. I love those comfort foods. And anytime, the kid's like, Mom, can you make your French toast? I mean, that's not a health food, but I'm all about it. And, I just don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the most appealing things to me about casseroles was that I could do, I could make 2 and put one in the freezer, or my friends used to tease me. They'd call me in the morning, like 9 or 10 in the morning. What are you doing? I'm making dinner. Like I made dinner in the morning because I just couldn't face it at 4 p.m. So I knew to get dinner on the table, I just make it up in the morning and then either cook it later or heat it up. And you can't do that when you're doing like made to order a meat and a roasted vegetable. And, like it all has to come together at the end. And so the convenience of a casserole, I miss that.
For sure.
I miss the Stouffer's lasagna. I used to be able to get away with the Stouffer's lasagna. No more.
No.
I do the Trader Joe's lasagna probably once a month.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what did you used to serve as a company meal? So one of my classics that I used to serve, and this is so bad, but it tasted really good, and I got it from a party, Julie. And it was a recipe that we all wanted. It was broccoli cheese soup, but the ingredients, so it was 2 cans of cream of celery, a half a jar of like that Cheese Whiz, like, that kind of what we would warm up for queso now, a half a jar of that, a pint of heavy whipping cream. It did have some broccoli. I mean, it was so loaded with fat and emptiness. Like, what is that Cheese Whiz?
Yeah.
What is oil? What is creamed soup? And so sometimes I would add like some potatoes or a tiny bit of ham to dress it up. But my kids really did like it. And so I used to make it then for a while. I cut down to just Christmas Eve because they would ask for it. And now my girls ask me, where is that? Why come I'm not like, I don't want to say that my conscience just won't allow me to serve it, but it just won't. It won't allow me to serve it because there's nothing of nutritional value in there except a few pieces of broccoli.
Oh, but it has broccoli.
I
know. Maybe you could make like tapas soup. Like everybody gets like a little
yeah, that's true.
A little shot.
I probably served that to you and John, Julie.
Oh, I've had it. Yeah. Book club, we've had it.
Oh yeah, probably book club. Yes, that was a classic. You make it in the not in the microwave, in the crock pot so that it's hot when people come. It's foolproof, literally foolproof. I mean,
yeah.
So anyways, like company meals like that, I would love to serve. But I feel like when people if they started asking like, what's in this, I would have to lie.
Because people ask that now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that used to get asked as much, but we are more aware of, food intolerances and, allergies and things like that. And so we are everyone's much more open. All the menus are like, okay, well, what's in it, and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no mystery ingredients anymore.
Mystery meat.
Yeah.
What's something that you used to serve for company that you would not serve now?
Well, I had my go-to meals. This was early on in marriage because we had people over all the time. And my first one was these stuffed jumbo shells. And I remember I got them at Sam's Club. They were already stuffed, frozen. And you just put a little marinara in the 9x13, put the stuffed shells in, and then topped it with marinara and some cheese. And I remember people coming over and saying, this is the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. You must give me the recipe. And I was just so embarrassed that it was just literally pouring sauce over these shells. But then I always had my copycat Olive Garden salad, which was like iceberg lettuce, some onions and black olives, and then just a bottle of Italian dressing over it. Yeah. Not even the Olive Garden dressing, just Italian dressing. And then, to top it off, I had my homemade croutons, which was just bread with some Italian dressing in the toaster. But that was my go-to meal because if we were always having different people over, it didn't matter that I repeated it. So that was my go-to. And then I made this Parmesan chicken where you just dipped the chicken breast with a bone in butter and dredged it in like herb stuffing. And that was just like the best thing ever. And I haven't cooked that in like 30 years. I don't know why. I mean, it was good. And then I had this honey pecan chicken. I'll never forget. I got the recipe off the Stouffer stuffing can.
Those are good recipes, Julie.
Yeah, and it was this was my go-to. I mean, people would know me by this recipe. It was a chicken breast, and you had like a cup of the stuffing on top with some pecans in it, and then you wrapped it in a piece of bacon. And then you made a little sauce out of orange juice and honey and poured it over.
I feel like I may have eaten this at your house. It's good.
I am sure you did. And I don't know why I quit making that, but I've just never thought about it again. But that was a staple.
I wish I would put as much effort into what I used to do.
Oh,
I was feeling convicted. I was like, wow, I used to do a really great job. What happened? No. So, okay, what I used to do, my two go-tos were awesome. And I actually need to do it again, is we would have a Mexican night and I would make, good ground beef, taco meat. And then I would make chicken, shredded chicken, fajita meat. And then we would have all the different toppings because when we would have like a large family over, we were a large family. And I thought everybody needs to just kind of decide what they want. So then you could either make a soft taco, you could make nachos, you could make a taco salad. So that was my favorite go-to was I just called it Mexican. And then the other was, Mexican. So the other was, make your own pizza night with the pita bread. And again, it's like a million different toppings, and you could put vegetables on it, and you could use a red pizza sauce, or you could do butter and Parmesan cheese, like you could do anything you wanted to with that. And you could make it as healthy or loaded or whatever that you wanted. And so then if I had someone over a lot, we would get to the point of having like breakfast for dinner. We would start having fun, and so that was really neat. But basically, I mean, we should do that again. When I thought about my go-to meals, I'm like, everybody loved it. It was so much fun. But I just think, gosh, I had so many ingredients, and I had this black bean and corn dip that I would make with fresh lime and Roma tomatoes and cilantro. And man, I should do that again, But like now, if we have people over, the thing to do is I go to the meat market and I get some fresh cuts of meat for Bryce to grill. And then I do air roasted or, air fried vegetables, and I'll do some sort of potato. And it's never like mashed. It's always, baked or, or roasted or something like that. Like
separate.
It's very different now. So I should throw in a Mexican night, make your own pizza night again, I think.
You reminded me of the taco soup in the crock pot. Yes. I made that a lot. That was a good crowd pleaser. It fed a large number of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like soups in the crock pot you can still get away with. People still like soup in a crock pot. That hasn't like fallen away, because it's an easy way to keep a large amount of soup warm and ready to go, and you can kind of prepare them. All right. Well, let's talk about some things that our moms used to make that you've never served your own kids, or that have fallen out of favor, or that you hated. So this is a broad category. I don't want to tell on my mom too much. But there were a couple meals that I used to break down in tears. Fish sticks. Oh, I just would cry when she would say that we were having fish sticks. Liver. I used to literally cry if we would have liver.
That's where I drew the line too.
Yes. And then one that we still tease her about to this day and has ruined me on Chinese food for life was Susie Wan. It was Chinese food in a can, a huge can. It was the worst stuff. My brother used to break down in tears if my mom said she was serving Susie Wan. We all would start crying. It was going to be a bad meal, and you were going to have to eat it. So fish sticks, liver, and Susie Wan. I've never served it to my own kids, and I hope I never eat them again.
Oh, I know. Okay. I feel the same about my mom, because I know she's listening. I'm grateful for all the meals she cooked.
Amen.
She was just doing what was culturally and socially normal.
Right.
That's right.
But she loved to cook liver and onions, and she knew that I drew the line there. Couldn't do it, and she wouldn't make me eat it. But even the smell in the house, I just couldn't be in the house.
Does anyone eat liver anymore? Like, I don't know that
I see it in the grocery.
Do they even sell it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was we took a consensus while my parents were here, Bryce was here. We all agreed liver was the number one thing that we are not doing anymore.
I think it's definitely fallen out of favor. Wow. If it ever was really in favor. But
yes.
Another thing was hamburger helper. I don't think I've ever served hamburger helper, but it was good. I mean, and then salmon croquettes. I guess fish in a can just should never be.
Yeah.
Fish in a can should not ever be, because you took the salmon like you would tuna, heated it, made it into a patty with breadcrumbs and fried them in a skillet. And I just couldn't eat it and I love salmon, but those little bones that were in the croquette. I just couldn't even look at it. And then, we had some fish sticks, and I just remember one major difference is that we probably had meat every night, and it was beef, rarely chicken, lots of meat.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just, I grew up kind of in this influence of the 70s, which was probably more fast food, more convenience, more sugary. Like I had Pop-Tarts and cereal for breakfast. That was and then you had a glass of milk or orange juice, and that made it a well-rounded meal.
Right.
Right. That's right.
I still love that meal.
I mean, that's what the commercial said. That's what the commercial
What's wrong with that, Julie?
Yeah. Rice Krispies with a banana, and you had a balanced meal.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, my mom did cook. She cooked chili. She did great hamburgers on the grill. I loved her spaghetti. There was no quinoa or couscous on the table. Like, we'd never heard of that. I don't think I ever saw an avocado as a child.
I didn't either. I didn't see one until I was a teenager, and my aunt married someone that had an avocado farm in California, and she brought some to us to visit in New York State. I'd never seen an avocado or knew anyone that ate them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we just didn't use a lot of odd spices. You know, it was just our Mexican spice came from McCormick's little packet. You know, like we didn't. And then, like I said, Italian was Chef Boyardee SpaghettiOs or whatever. And that is one thing that I did not really eat growing up, but John did, and he loved them till the day he died. And that was something that I would be embarrassed if anyone opened my pantry and saw the little stash of Chef Boyardee. And when he passed, there were some left in there, and I did just donate them.
Okay.
Just to me, that just seemed like ketchup on noodles. I never understood the appeal of those, but I think it was a memory for him too. Like, he grew up eating that, and
Man,
he liked it.
I was a SpaghettiOs lover. And when they made it into an alphabet, you know, you could get the letters.
Education and food.
Yes. I mean, come on. And ironically, I didn't like ketchup, but I love SpaghettiOs. So there's something different there.
Yeah, there is something different.
Secret ingredient.
I'm wondering if I need to try that again. Okay.
I'll answer your question. No, Mindy, you do not need to try it again.
It might go the same way as the corned beef hash and eggs. Okay. So my parents were just here. So we talked about this, which was so funny because my mom always was very diligent about making homemade meals. And so we quickly rattled off a list of the things that she used to make when I was home, and that, none of us really eat much anymore. Spam was on the list. We did live in Hawaii for a little bit, which Spam is pretty popular over in Hawaii. So Spam was on there. Of course, we've already talked about the liver. Meatloaf, which has come up in previous conversations. My mom used to make homemade wontons, which were really good. I have never made those in my life, and I don't know if she has made them recently. A Southern dish is cornbread and a bowl of milk. And it was really good. Okay, so it was actually like a meal. Like, she was served that, and I remember when she served it was actually pretty good. It is
a meal. My father-in-law used to eat it, but
interesting. Okay, and then grilled cheese with syrup. Like, that was
actually
so good.
Would be good. I think our initial reaction is ew, but think of all the things they put on, like the grilled cheesery. I could see them putting syrup on the menu and people ordering it.
Oh, that's true. They put jams and stuff.
Yeah. So it was a special treat if she let us have syrup. And then as we got older, we just had syrup. But I remember as a kid, like, begging, could we have syrup on our grilled cheese? And then another one that I remember, I got, like, she went to so much work, and I was like, cube steak with gravy and rice.
So I remember that.
Yeah, the cube steak, which probably I would enjoy to this, at this point. I hadn't had it since I was a kid. But she would make homemade chocolate chip cookies. She would make Swedish pancakes, like all this yummy stuff that honestly she could totally do again. I would definitely eat that.
Yeah. Obviously, food preferences change over the years. So now we're going to just talk a little bit about, because now some of us have old enough kids that cook in their own families. And so I'm kind of, how I feel like my mom feels about me saying that I don't like a few of her dishes. I sometimes feel like that when I go over to my daughter's house and I see that she does not serve her children certain things. And so I think this is a real category. So it is things that I served my babies and preschoolers that have fallen out of favor that Abigail has never. So when my first grandchild got old enough to try solid foods, I assumed that Abigail would go and buy the Gerber rice cereal and mix a little bit up. And that would be the first food. That was the first food of all my kids, probably the first food of me and my siblings. No, like, I don't know that Abigail has ever bought a box of Gerber rice cereal. And I used
they don't do it anymore.
No, I used to make that every single morning. You mix it with a little baby food applesauce or some mashed banana, or like that was the way they started their day.
Right.
No, they do not start out with Gerber rice cereal. Goldfish, she has never bought a package of goldfish. Goldfish was like what everyone had. You went to the church nursery, there was goldfish. You wanted your kids to sit and watch a video for 20 minutes and leave you alone. You gave them a little cup of goldfish. You know, a snack in the stroller so that they're not whining, a little cup of goldfish. No, she's never bought goldfish. Cheerios, she has never bought Cheerios. I felt like Cheerios were like the first finger foods that my kids ever did because you couldn't really choke on them because they just kind of dissolve and they have a hole right in the middle. You're not going to stop breathing. Cheerios, never bought. Apple juice, put half water, half apple juice. She said now they use coconut water. All baby food in general has fallen. She's never bought a jar of baby food. I remember when Pepper came over to my house, when it came time that she could sit in the high chair and eat some food, I thought, well, I'm going to buy some baby food because I thought, oh, she's just going to love it. No, she didn't like baby food. She'd never had baby food. She just kind of spit it back out. Like even the baby food desserts, like blueberry buckle and like the banana pudding and like all those. No, like baby food in general. So I don't know if that's just going to slowly make its way off the shelves. And I know, Julie, that you've seen some like things on Instagram about like things that have fallen out of favor.
Well, right when we brought this topic up, I saw a Boomer Mom episode that just had me rolling on the floor because she goes over to her daughter's house and she's, looking at the baby and saying, oh my gosh, he's eating a whole strawberry, like call 911, because he doesn't have any teeth. And you're like, how do you eat things without teeth? And so when I talked to my daughter about this, she was like, oh yeah, that's the whole baby-led weaning, and that you let them eat what they want to eat. And it's quite messy. And, you just let them eat whole, like start with berries because they kind of mush up and go down. But the Boomer Mom was just so funny because she said, oh, honey, don't you want some puree? She goes, blink once if you want puree.
Oh my goodness.
And she goes, I think I saw her blink, So I think puree is still, Molly did puree. She didn't buy baby food. She just made it. But she said, I just felt like it was kind of a little too messy and you couldn't get enough calories in, to just let them eat what they wanted. So she kind of did a mix of both. But yeah, the Boomer Mom said, where's the rice cereal? Like she has to have rice cereal. And then under her breath, she goes, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like it worked for all of us. Why are you not using this stuff?
It's true. Like different foods fall in and out of favor.
Yeah. I mean, babies are eating avocado toast now, and I had not seen an avocado till college.
Right.
Well, you guys have rocked my world with this whole baby food thing. This is all news to me. I'm not in that world yet. I had no idea this has completely changed. I'm not surprised. But also I'm thinking, what do they eat?
Well, and I'll be interested to see, because with each of my children, they all had different, there were all different opinions on whether they should sleep on their backside or stomach. So with subsequent children, who knows what they'll be eating? Maybe it won't stay this way. Maybe the puree will come back. Moms will get tired of cleaning up that big mess.
Right.
I remember, when my kids, a couple of them did end up taking a bottle. And I remember at a certain stage adding a little rice to the bottle at night to make sure they slept through the night. And that was the go-to thing to add a little bit.
People, my mother used to talk about that.
The one thing I was kind of surprised about was that once he was weaned, like he pretty much only drinks water and it's just plain water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like occasionally a milk at Chick-fil-A, but water, I remember more juice. I don't think he ever has juice, which is probably good because that's just kind of empty calories. And he always has he's pretty much since he's been weaned has a little cup with a straw that he carries everywhere. It's like we talked about the bottle, the water thing is always with him.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
They
yeah.
don't want to be
You know.
dehydrated.
You don't want to be crispy
Yeah.
and dehydrated like me.
That's me.
All right, you guys. Well, this was fun. This was fun to talk about how we have changed, to tell on ourselves a little bit, to laugh about the things that we have changed. And I'm proud of us because we've all evolved, because all these things that we've talked about, we don't serve the same things anymore because we've evolved and we've served new things, and we have moved into online recipes, and we are evolving, and we are trying to change the way that we cook. And so it's just funny to look back on and really see like, hey, we've changed a lot.
Yes.
And listeners, we would love to know how you have changed. Come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of an app, and it's quite popular right now. And I happened to finally catch on and download it. It's the New York Times Games app. If you've heard people talk about Wordle, it's this. Okay. So the New York Times app has been such a fun thing to incorporate into now my daily life. I get so excited to every day just try to accomplish the free games that are on the app. I haven't paid to unlock the non-free games, but I kind of got into it because Bryce and Nathan were talking about Wordle every day, and they're like, "Oh, like I got Wordle in 3 or I got Wordle in 4." And so they were talking about this. And so I was like, well, I want to join in, I'm missing out. And I love words. So I just thought, okay, this is a great new addition to my life. Well, it's actually a fun thing to do now every day. It doesn't take much time. You can come and go from it if you have a few minutes and you're trying to figure it out. But there's probably 5 games that I try to do on there. And there's no pressure. And when I first started doing it, it frustrated me, and I was like, this is stupid. And I would whatever, I'm not doing this. But I'm catching on and getting better, and I'm getting more competitive with Bryce and Nathan. And now I'm a part of their conversation about, I got Wordle in, 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. So it's actually been a lot of fun to use my phone with this game. I know this is nothing new, but I'm not a gamer. I don't play games. This is the only thing that I'm like, I actually enjoy this, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
I did that for a while. It was fun. John did it. It is fun to, I don't know, it's a challenge.
It is a challenge.
Yeah.
So, but it's been a fun new addition to my life.
Good. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of?
All right. In keeping with our topic, I'm a fan of a recipe. And I just had to laugh because it's the blueberry peach quinoa breakfast bake.
Nice.
Nothing that would have been prepared in 1965 through 1999. But it's just a cup of fresh blueberries. And right now the peaches are really good, like fresh peaches.
Oh, okay.
And then you just mix that with a little bit of milk and cinnamon and a little bit of maple syrup. That's your sweetener.
Oh.
And an egg and vanilla. And you just kind of mix it all in a 8x8 pan and bake it. And what I really like is it's a lot of protein. Like I'll serve it with a scoop of yogurt on top.
Oh.
And I don't like to cook in the morning. So this way I can make it and then have it, just scoop it out and heat it up every morning in the microwave.
Yeah.
Do you put the quinoa in, I don't want to say raw. Okay, good.
Yes.
Because I hate having to cook quinoa.
I know. I hate having to cook it. So I loved this recipe. Everything just gets mixed in. And it was really, really good. And I will say that I don't love quinoa.
Yeah, I don't love it either.
And I don't know if I got something different. I got white quinoa and it just didn't look as funny. I don't like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good.
Yeah, I feel like quinoa is one of those evolving foods that I know it's out there. Sometimes if I go to Panera, they'll have it in a bowl and I don't even really notice it. But it's never a food that I buy or try to prepare myself. But this might not be that hard and it might still be good.
I would say it was fairly disguised.
Okay.
Okay.
And I used probably more blueberries and more peaches than it called for. Just
okay. Yeah.
Because I had them and it was really, really good.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a fan this week of something that I want to share before it's too far out of date. So there are so many hydrangeas in this neighborhood. And in other areas of the country, the hydrangeas might not have all died yet either. And so I think I've mentioned this before, but drying hydrangeas, you can find a million different ways to do it on the internet. But I just want to reiterate that I'm a fan of doing it this easy way. Cut your hydrangeas, take their leaves off, put them in a vase or some container with just maybe like 1 inch, 2 inches of water, stick them in a closet, shut the door, open them up 2 weeks later, and they just turn out so nice.
Seriously.
I don't know if it's the dark. You don't want too much water, but it's like the slowly drying out. By the time you take your hydrangeas out, the water should have evaporated in the vase. If not, then you put in too much water. But yeah, I mean, they just turn out nice. Like I had cut some a few weeks ago, and I put them all in this upstairs closet that nobody really opens. And I opened them up this week, and I'm like, these turned out really nice. And then I was able to put them in different vases, and they last years. Like I didn't have to throw away all the ones I've done a couple years ago because they'll sometimes dry different colors. Like a couple years ago, my hydrangeas dried more pinkish, and this year they dried more green. And so like it's different colors too that you can kind of get.
And even if they eventually turn kind of brown, that's pretty in the fall too, you know?
Yeah. So it's very easy to dry hydrangeas. And if you don't have any, you could ask your neighbor, hey, can I cut some and try this? And it's almost foolproof. Like I really don't think that you could fail. But I think one of the keys is just shutting the door and then not letting the light hit them.
Wow. I have never done that. What a great tip.
Okay.
My hydrangeas down here they're toasted, like they're done.
Okay.
But I am totally going to do that though in the future. What a great idea.
All right, you guys, I enjoyed talking with you about nostalgic foods, and I look forward to talking with you next week.
All right. It made me hungry.
I know.
All right.
To eat.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.